New Zealanders have welcomed the life sentence handed down to Brenton Tarrant, the man who killed 51 people at 2 mosques last year in Christchurch. It's the first time that sort of penalty has been imposed in New Zealand. Outside the High Court in Christchurch, crowds greeted the mosque shooting survivors and victims' families with songs and hugs. Some held signs with messages of support for the Muslim community.
We are here today. We represent love, compassion, Muslim and non-Muslim, people of faith and no-faith. That is us, New Zealanders, and we are very proud that we are Muslims in New Zealand.
This has been a crime in New Zealand that the likes of which has never occurred before. And now we've seen a sentence the likes of which we've never seen before as well. But yes, it gave me relief to know that person will never see the light of day.
The sentencing marked the end of 4 emotionally charged days in New Zealand. Some 90 survivors and family members had delivered impact statements. Many also called for the most severe sentence possible. The judge said that life imprisonment was not enough punishment for the wicked crimes committed by Tarrant.
It is self-evident that your offending constituted extreme violence. It was brutal and beyond callous. Your actions were inhuman. The terror you inflicted in the last few minutes of that small child's life is but one instance of the pitiless cruelty that you exhibited throughout. There are countless more examples. You showed no mercy.
And for a look at how the news has been greeted in New Zealand, we're joined by Hannah Saman. And Hannah is a Singaporean living in Christchurch. Hannah, can you tell us how people are reacting to Tarrant's sentencing?
Hi, so there are mixed feelings. Obviously, with respect to New Zealand law, I think this is something, one of the most harshest law ever passed. In fact, the harshest law ever passed in New Zealand. And but for some of us, especially for me and some of the Singaporeans who have lived here for a while, we do think that maybe the death penalty would be better. However, having said that, we do want him to suffer for a longer time and I think that with this sentencing, it does bring some form of closure to people so that they can start healing, so that they don't have to deal with this anymore. They don't have to hear his name being said anymore, and they can finally go on and process all the emotions and start healing. And like what Jacinda Ardern said, like, he deserves not to be named. He should not be talked about anymore. Yeah, so the larger New Zealand community on the whole, they have been very supportive. And I feel that all in all, it is, I think most of us are feeling quite relieved that at least this portion is over.
Hannah, you were there on March 15th last year when the shootings took place. Can you describe how that affected the community?
So there is an increase in security, and I was just mentioning this earlier on at 938 that in the past the mosque was open to everyone, and during prayers the doors weren't closed, but now there's increased security. Every time my husband goes for his Friday prayers or the Eid prayers, they will lock the door during prayers, and people and on time during times that is outside of prayer times, you need a swipe card to come in. There's always police presence around. There's heightened awareness, and but having said that, with all this more security and everything, I think the community in general is, and this is, I'm talking not just for Muslims, but with non-Muslims as well. There's a lot more understanding. People are more welcoming, and people are more supportive because they finally see that, that there's another community that we need to support, and that's the Muslim community, the migrant community. And I feel that we as a nation in New Zealand, we're stronger now. And there's more, and then there's strength in numbers now, and we feel more welcome. We feel more part of New Zealand. Yep.
Hannah, thank you very much for sharing those thoughts with us on this sentencing. That was Hannah Saman there, a Singaporean, speaking to us from Christchurch, New Zealand.